Hello and welcome back to more Zenless Zone Zero. Now that it's been a week since we got to play around with Lighter, let's break down how he fits in today's meta and whether or not you should pull for the guy before he leaves. Here's a disclaimer though, everything is based on my opinion and my observation. Do note as well that some footage used in this video are from the Creator Experience server. And yep, without further ado, let us just start. Firstly, let's just take a look at Lighter. He's very clearly a stun character that boasts great impact. Obviously, he does a good job at stunning bosses or stunning anyone, but what sets him apart from anything we have seen is that he specifically buffs two elements, namely fire and ice. He also specifically aids the crit damage of these two elements through his own W engine, which is rather unique. This means Lighter is designed to play the supporting role for ideally Ellen and Soldier 11, with both of them being crit damage based damage dealers. To take a look at his pros first, it is clear that he acts as a bump up for older characters we have in the game, with Soldier being a standard banner character while Ellen being the first ever banner that we had. This phenomenon fits the pattern we have with Zenless Zone Zero, where they usually release the main DPS character, and within the next few banners, they release supportive roles or characters that aid those DPSs very quickly. For example, we see Julian being released, then instantly Qingyu, which supports Julian perfectly. Someone like Jane being released, then the Disorder support in Bernice after. Lighter here is similar in which he does play a support for existing characters in Ellen and Soldier, which directly means if you're playing Ellen or Soldier, you want to keep an eye on Lighter. But is Lighter truly worth it though the moment you're maining these two characters? Let's just take a deeper dive. Now to point out the best role with Lighter, he is certainly hands down the best stunner in a Soldier 11 team, as he complements her element and crit damage playstyle perfectly. In my experience of using Soldier with Lighter, her damage certainly seen a very obvious increase. However, not higher than the flat out broken anomaly spammers though. I will say this team is certainly easier to use compared to a Disorder team, where you do still have to keep anomaly build up in mind. With this team, you just spam everyone's combo, which generally just consists of X special attack and basic skill spam. This is not really that big of a deal because if you get used to playing an anomaly team, you know when to swap your characters around, and that shouldn't be that big of an issue, right? But in any case, going for Lighter if you're a hard Soldier 11 main is honestly not a ridiculous thought, but the same can't quite be said for Ellen. The reason being is that most people do have a Caesar or at least a light cone ready for her already, which in the case of Caesar, she performs similarly to Lighter while having shielding capabilities. Lighter's advantage over Caesar is that Lighter will be able to stun any enemies a lot faster than Caesar, so you can see the difference between the two. However though, this does point out the obvious issue with Lighter, but we are still on the topic of his pros, so we'll leave that for later. Comparing the two though does mean Lighter's value may be increased in the future compared to right now, when we don't necessarily have to use Lighter for any specific teams. If we look at the future characters though, we do see the next two banner featuring Miyabi and Harumasa. We can forget about Harumasa since he ain't a fire or ice, but Miyabi is of the ice element. There is a chance Lighter can be decent with Miyabi, though the chances are slimmer considering she's an anomaly character. It is a likely scenario for Miyabi to be great with Yanagi as an anomaly combo. No more info, we'll have to wait for the official reveal. This means Lighter may see great benefits farther in the future, which at that point, who knows what may happen. Now that we covered his pros, let's take a look at his cons. The most obvious cons he has is how he only supports two elements in ice and fire. Compared to someone of a similar role like Caesar, he definitely lacks the versatility Caesar possesses. Plus, with Lighter's unique characteristic of aiding crit damage through his own W engine, anomaly characters like Bernice isn't quite suitable if paired with Lighter. Not to mention, both of them have gimmicks related to being off-field, and Bernice aiding Disorder more than stunning the enemies. That does show the rather narrow selection of characters when it comes to pairing a team for Lighter. Another con to think about will be with future banners as well. While we know Harumasa isn't of the right element while Miyabi is an anomaly character, that does mean the coming version will not benefit Lighter very much. The tough part here is that we simply don't know what is going to happen beyond that version. They could release an S tier fire crit DPS right after, or they could also just not do it for a long time. There's also a chance they may eventually run double banners at the same time, where a new limited banner is ran along with a rerun banner. It tends to happen when there are a lot more characters, which is exactly what happened in Star Rail and Genshin. So yeah, with that said, I personally think there's a big chance they will release a Lighter rerun along with a really strong crit DPS along with him in the future, just that who knows when and who knows if it will even happen, right? In any case though, with all the pros and cons laid out, let's make a quick conclusion on Lighter. In my opinion, he is certainly not a broken must-pull character and is more of an investment. Do note that Hoyo generally never released someone and forget about them like forever. After a couple of versions, they tend to release a great support to bump up older DPS or a great DPS to bump up older supports. I think this case is directly shown with how Lighter is released to bump up, well, a very old character in Soldier 11, where she was never really in the limelight for a while. A lot of people have said Soldier 11 is not the greatest of DPS even since day one, and Hoyu do recognize that, and guess what? After a couple of versions, she does get a bump up, with Lighter paired with Soldier 11 being a fairly good team, which is why Lighter fits the description of a character that's used to bump up older characters. And for the fact that there's always a chance that they bump him up instead in the future, I don't think getting Lighter is too bad of an idea if you A, you are not pulling for Miyabi, or B, you love using Soldier 11, or you don't mind freeing up Caesar in your LN team and replace her with Lighter instead. Otherwise though, let's say if you're hard going for Miyabi and you even pulled Yanagi in preparation, clearly you may not have resources to pull both Lighter and Miyabi at the same time, so it's clear that you will have to pass on Lighter. However, don't even worry, Lighter could return in the future along with a stronger character paired with him in a double banner scenario. That is what happened with pretty much every other Hoyo titles, so I think there's a pretty high chance that that will happen. Plus, if you love Miyabi anyway, pull for her. No reason not to play with whoever you love the most in this game, right? Same could be said for the case of Lighter. While a lot of people are saying he's not really that important of a character that you have to prioritize, I personally think if you love him enough, he's actually not too terrible that you just cannot use him at all. And if you think about it, there's no way that in the future there's just gonna be a net 0% character that is being released that specifically do crit damage, right? So I think there's a big chance that Lighter's value will see an increase. It's just that we don't know how far in the future though. But generally speaking though, I think most people already decided on who they're going to go for when we had Yanagi's banner. Chances are if you pull for Yanagi, you want to go for Miyabi, and you probably don't have the resources for Lighter anyway, which is where I would suggest you to save if that is what the scenario is in your account. And as I mentioned, waiting for a rerun is also wise if you really are running out of resources, but don't let any of those reasonings stop you from pulling who you want. I do see a lot of people saying to skip any certain type of characters, even in any game, and it just turns out they're all just gonna beat every content anyway in the end. So if you like his story, you like his design and setup, definitely go ahead and pull for him. That should be the best recommendation and advice after a week of me seeing Lighter in the game. The game is certainly not difficult enough that you have to abide by one singular best team, and yeah, just have fun with it, right? And that will be all for today. Hope I helped you out, and yeah, good luck if you're going for Lighter, and take care.